Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Bonsoir. How's it going? The Montreal Canadiens won this time. They're the comeback kings against the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Florida teams, basically, they like to come back against them. Only had to do 2 in the third period tonight instead of 4, which was probably lucky. I would say, I don't know about you, Jordan, but watching these 2 games, both Florida teams on the second half of a back-to-back, the Canadiens rested. They had some advantages here, but overall, managing to control 62% of the expected goals at 5-on-5 between these 2 games against 2 top-tier teams in their division, pretty solid bit of work from the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, these are some of the games that you'd love to see just from the team middle of the year. And you got to take the advantages that are given to you. The Canadiens have a pretty tough schedule remaining. They really started out with a weak schedule, but now as they're moving forward, they're going to have to find a way to just slug out some of the games they're having, and against 2 pretty good teams that are going to take it to you physically every night, and you outplay them. That's straight up what happened most of the game. That was a Habs playing well game, and just it's really good.
It is. You know, they've had a period where they haven't been playing that well, leading into December, I would say, or even beginning of December. And now they are really pushing the needle in the proper way. And as much as through the first 40 minutes of both games, I would say things were not going super well for them. I see Jordan is frozen currently on the stream. I'm going to fix that. But overall, they pushed things in the right direction. They stuck with it. They didn't panic, and they managed to get points out of both games. Probably should have done better in the Tampa Bay game, but listen, beggars can't be choosers, right? So we will figure it out here. I'm going to just switch Jordan over. There we go. And now it should be working again. But we have a fun show for you tonight, obviously, because it was a fun game. Outside of Brad Marchand trying to brain Mike Matheson from behind, purely out of spite after he got beat by Uri Slafkovsky in overtime and couldn't catch him because he's too damn old now. Still a great player, but still a rat, unfortunately. But we're going to talk about the Canadiens in this game, the comeback kings, what they were able to do against these Florida Panthers. We're going to talk about Sam Montembeault getting his first game back in the NHL after a little stint in the American Hockey League, where the pressure's on. You know, he's against his former team. He's against the reigning Stanley Cup champions. Yes, Alex Barkov is out. The Panthers aren't playing to their potential, you could say. But this was a big deal for Sam Montembeault. He needed to have a good one tonight. We'll talk about that. And in our final segment, before we go to the overtime, where our awesome audience can ask us whatever questions they want, we want to talk about Nick Suzuki on Team Canada, because if there was ever an exclamation point he could have put on the last calendar year where he's been pushing to be on this team, tonight was it. That was an absolutely incredible performance from Nick Suzuki. So we'll get into all that in a moment. We'll start our first period, brought to you by our partners at Inchu Bijou, right after this.
At the famous chateau at 4000 Rue Saint-Ambroise lies one of Montreal's coolest secrets, a glamorous Gothic jewelry store owned and run by women. Inchu Bijou isn't just a business. They've built a community that supports bold creativity and expression. When I was first introduced to founder Astrida Pisigomian's shop, I was floored by the detail, vision, and scale of what she's built from her own mind. I don't think anyone would call me goth, but I know an innovator when I see one. Along with building their own business, Inchu Bijou also hosts markets for vendors in their space called Marché Maleficarum, boosting their whole community. If you don't live in Montreal, explore inchubijou.com, where you'll find over 800 designs that range from affordable to bespoke. Check out Inchu Bijou right now, a Game Over partner from the beginning.
Welcome back to Game Over Montreal. I am Andrew Berkshire. I'm here with Jordan Hachey, and we are going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens' victory over the Florida Panthers. They should probably be 2-0 over the last couple of games in Florida, but 2-0 or 1-0-1 is not that bad. Only 1 point lost, and I've already noticed Jordan's been frozen twice on our Discord capture so far tonight. So for those of you in the chat, if he freezes and I don't notice, please tell me, because I can get on it quick. We were on ultra low latency, so it shouldn't have to go on for like a minute, but I will continue watching that as well. I don't know what's going on with that. It was fine last game. Now it's giving me trouble again, but we'll figure it out. All right. Jordan, the first period tonight in particular was an absolute dominant period for the Montreal Canadiens. And the power play seems to be a bit of an issue, but overall, what were your impressions from how they started tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that first was really strong. And just before I say that, thank you to everyone who's noticed my boy Hirondelle in the back. That's his name. Shout out to my awesome girlfriend who lets me use this for the streams. But it is not a labubu. Whoever said it's a Montreal labubu, but his name's Hirondelle. And back to that first period, yeah, I thought they were just taking it to the Panthers. They had the pace. I thought I made like a couple different notes of just the first line's looking really good. Texier is fitting pretty well on there. Bolduc back on that third line just looks kind of rejuvenated. It just seems like he's playing the style he wants to. It felt maybe a little bit before like he was a little bit like forcing himself to play out of his comfort zone. It looks like he's back in his comfort zone right now, and his ability to just possess the puck and play north south has been pretty effective. And then I thought, especially from the defensemen, I thought it was a very good first period. They were really active. I thought in the offensive zone, especially Noah Dobson, who has really impressed me the last few games, like against Tampa and today. Just his awareness in the offensive zone to know when to step up and when to create spaces when a forward has the puck in the high slot, he knows when to drop down and to create more offensive zone time and more confusion for the defenders when he's the one jumping in. I thought he did a great job at that. And the cycle game just looked really good in the first as well.
It was very, very good. Like, no matter what way you were looking at it with the Canadiens in that first period, the second period too, heck, even the third period. Third period started out a little bit rough. You know, the penalties were an issue. Also, the Panthers really got some momentum off of their power plays that they got. I think the biggest difference between this game and Lightning game was while the Lightning got a lot of breaks and got out ahead of the Canadiens, I don't think at any point in that game they'd earned it. Whereas the Panthers, even though the Canadiens outplayed them pretty significantly, the Panthers are scary. Like the Lightning have that quick strike ability offensively, but when you notice between them, I feel like the Lightning you can see are not in that like competitive window anymore. Whereas the Panthers, even though they probably won't win a third straight cup, they are everywhere. Like you just cannot get a clean look at the team through that team. Like they have sticks and lanes all the time. They're leaning on guys all the time. Physical all the time. And they get away with a lot of like on the line stuff or sometimes over the line stuff. But that's because they play so damn hard, right? And they are just difficult to put down. And the Lightning don't have that anymore, I find. You can get through them. They're a little bit more porous. But these Panthers, they are scary. But the Canadiens are finding that within themselves as well. Like, teams are having more and more trouble shutting this team down for 60 minutes. It's like you just can't hold them in check as easily, especially with how Juraj Slafkovsky has taken the next step. And I know we talked about him like half of last show. Yeah. But again, another wonderful performance from Slafkovsky, even with that late penalty that got the Panthers on the board initially. I didn't like how like crazy the stick check was where he got the tripping penalty. But I liked the overall aggression in that play, that he was trying to make something happen. And yes, it didn't work out. Yes, he took a penalty. But I would rather Slafkovsky play that way than being more hesitant with the puck, which is what he's mostly been throughout his career.
For sure. I initially I was pretty like worked up about that penalty, and then I saw you and K's Blue Sky tweets, and I said, oh, I need to take a step back and realize, okay, was he a little too aggressive with the puck? Starting in his own zone, he circles back, beats a defender, and then tries to go through two more. Yeah, a little bit, but you'd rather see a confident Slafkovsky, and maybe eventually in his prime, he can even pull off moves like that, right? And that's kind of your hope, to where if he gets the reps in, we talked about it last show. This year, you just need to chill. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, like too much how amazing we are this year on a game-to-game basis. So if you can just get the right reps in, figure out, okay, what Slav's trying to figure out, what can I get away with now? Because now I'm confident. Now he knows he can try anything because he's feeling confident. He's trying to figure out what he can get away with. Clearly something there. He got a little bit flustered after he realized that he tried to do too much. But like you said, it's the right thing to do. you're not really, ecstatic about that, but you'd rather see him try things and do his best than to him be more of a timid player than we've seen before in the past.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go a little bit inside baseball here, and I apologize, but I'm just seeing some posts from Vaguely Stats in the comments, and I just want to get to it because this has been a consistent issue for this show. So they're trying to figure out what's going on with the hosting. So I don't think it's a RAM issue because I've been doing this on this computer for a few years now. I think it has 32 gigs of RAM, so it's fine. I don't think it's like a computer power issue. It seems to be a Discord OBS issue. But yes, we are using OBS. I can send you my settings after the show if you'd like, but there have been some consistent issues. One of the problems that I have is that my camera is like, it is too much information, I think, going through the port compared to my mic. So sometimes on my streams, the camera gets like super far behind the audio, so I have to delay my mic, and I think the delay is quite large. It's like 6 seconds right now because of or not 6 seconds, sorry, 600 milliseconds. 6 seconds would be insane. But yeah, those are the problems that we're having with the show. But let's get back to the hockey now. You can dig in. Yeah, OBS bugs the shit out of me too. Don't worry. It's free programs, right? Like, you take what you get and you don't get upset. Unfortunately, free stuff has some problems with it, but we'll continue trying to make it better as we continue to go on. But just a little run through the chat as well. Hi to Vaguely Stats, of course. Hi, Claire. Mr. Modern Marvels, that's a new one. Monty Win, Outrageous here. Trinka's here. The Piano Mat, Montreal MUFC, Frederick Roulette. Man, there's so many of our favorite people here. J Paradis, Andrew Minette, Piano Mat. Like, there's so many of you. I love you. I'm so glad you're here. So glad to share a Habs win with so many amazing people in our community. So I think the big difference over the last couple of games that has made the Canadiens so much more difficult to deal with has been, I know Bolduc was struggling on the first line last game, but Texier really seemed to fit in this one. But the Danault line also settling in. We're going to talk about that in a second, or Danault specifically. But this game particularly, the Slavkovsky line, the Suzuki line, and the Danault line were all giving fits for the Panthers. Like, they could just throw those lines out. Didn't really matter, and they were in the Panthers zone creating havoc. That was huge.
Yeah, it was really great to see because this team last year did not have that level of, we can roll 3 lines easily on you, right? That's something we never saw last year, and now you're seeing the next evolution of this team and how they're making things happen. And what's even more awesome is in the future, if we can get healthy, I mean, if Texier can slide down to that third line,
right?
Because then you can get a fourth line that either has Evans and Anderson, or Evans and Bolduc with Gallagher, or swapping it around. Then you have a bottom 6 with at least comparable to how good last year's bottom 6 was, because we didn't have that before we got Danault, but now we do have the chance to have a plus bottom 6 this year, in my opinion. So you have that, and then you have the second line clicking. So it's just, you're seeing the next true progression of this team, and it's even more impressive that it's coming more internally than what we've seen on the defensive end when we had to give up a lot to get Dobson, right? And that's just something that's been so great to see in just these last 2 games. When you're hockey deprived for almost a week, and then you come back to see 2 incredible games, you're pretty darn excited.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Like, the way the Canadiens are playing right now is just, it makes me extremely happy. Like, just to watch it. And I know, like, I was following along on Blue Sky during the game, and it's funny because, like, Brian Wilde, who I've been, like, friends with, or friendly with at least, for over a decade, right? Like, he's one of the few guys in Montreal media who didn't react as threatened when Habs Eyes on the Prize started, like, taking over media coverage of the Canadiens in terms of, like, the volume of people reading. And he actually kind of learned from us. But I remember back in the day, he was, like, very critical of, like, the analytics and like, oh, like you got to score the goals, you got to win the games. And all tonight when the Canadiens were dominating but not scoring, I was watching his feed and he was like, you got to go beyond just score vision. You got to look at like how they're actually playing and you should be happy about this. And I was like, this feels like my Twitter account from like 2013. And it's really funny to see that bleed through, but it's good to see that in the fan base that people recognize here that what matters more than the wins at the end of the day or the goals at the end of the day is the process. And this team has been building a process that will guarantee them a lot of success for a very long time. It's really good to see. It's just, there's so few great things happening right now out there in the world to have your hockey team actually putting things together in the right way. It's just a nice, warm, cozy feeling right as we shift into the new year. It's like, just put that big blanket on, snuggle in, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, isn't it? And this year, I don't know if it was you that tweeted it, but we're what, a 102 point team now this year in 2025,
good.
this calendar year, which is pretty good.
Very, very good. You know, and at the end of the day, like I've seen some points here. Andrew Gisbrick says 3 out of 4 points in Florida. Absolutely, you take that. And I saw some folks during the game, Habs fans, talking about how like this Florida trip over the holiday break has historically been like a season breaker for the Canadiens. Like when Cirque du Soleil comes and plays in the Bell Center, the Canadiens have historically struggled on this road trip. They've started this road trip off very, very strong. Now they've got a very tough team coming up on Thursday in Carolina, but they just faced 2 pretty tough teams too, and they handled themselves pretty well. So if they could just keep on getting all these tough teams in the second half of a back-to-back, that'd be great. Just keep that going for the rest of the season. Keep that energy, NHL.
Hey, Carolina has blown a few leads lately, so
They have. And Jacob Slavin, I believe, is injured right now, along with Seth Jarvis was injured on a very dangerous play that somehow did not result in any supplemental discipline,
that was
I don't
awful. Oh man, that was like, if I've ever seen a major tripping, that was a major tripping penalty. And speaking of if I've ever seen a major, what's up with that hit directly to the head that only made contact with Matheson's head? That was not only a 2-minute. What's a 5-minute penalty in the NHL if that isn't just because it's not with excessive force? It was only on his head.
Yeah, straight to the head. Like, and behind the play too. Like, Matheson was going for the puck, yes, but he did not have it and therefore is ineligible to be hit. Now, I know the Panthers like to tread that line. Like, a lot of really decent chances that the Canadiens got tonight didn't end up materializing as like scoring chances or shots on goal because the Panthers like to hit players before they get the puck. They see a play developing and they play the body before the puck actually gets there. Now, technically against the rules, but when you've won a cup or two, refs just give you breaks. And this is one of those things over the last couple of games. Like, I'll admit that it's been these 2 teams in particular that it bothers me, but I find my new hockey commentary pet peeve is blank team knows how to win. And it never goes beyond saying that on the broadcast. And I understand they don't have a lot of time to dig in like we do, but if you're going to say something like that, say what you actually mean. Because I think when you're talking about the Panthers and the Lightning, when you say blank team knows how to win, what you're really talking about is knows how to cheat. It's like, you know how to skirt the rules and get away with it. And that's not really knowing how to win. That's knowing how to game the system that is the NHL.
Yeah, I think for sure, and you'll get more calls just if you have a better reputation or a more winning reputation, which you don't love to see. Speaking of like tight calls, on Caulfield's goal, I thought Hudson was really, really close to throwing a pick there. I don't know if you saw that, but
I
was
missed it.
so close in my opinion. I don't know if anyone in the chat saw that. It was like a regular where they lay it off and then back into you. But I was scared for about half a second that was going to get called, and luckily it didn't. But oh man, that goal was filthy.
It was. And I find every time a guy pulls what I call like the Peter Forsberg, where you like circle the entire zone, somebody's running a pick. It like just the way NHL teams work.
Yeah.
Whenever you're trying to go around like that and you're trying to move guys around, somebody is going to try to throw a pick. It might be obvious, it might be subtle, but pretty much every team is doing that now. And those like running picks, I feel like hockey coaches have watched a lot of basketball, right? It seems like that's become more and more common. It really got out of control, I feel like 5 or so years ago. And then it's just not been reined in really at all. And they only really call it when it's super obvious.
Yeah.
And I think it's a problem. It is a problem. And maybe the Canadiens were owed to get away with one tonight, because I don't think Lane Hutson's cross-checking penalty was a cross-check or a penalty. And I don't think Suzuki's hook on the hands was worth calling either. I understand he got him on the hands with the stick, but he had stick on stick and just didn't have speed. So the guy skated away and the stick blade rode up onto the hands. But by that point, Caulfield had already removed puck possession. So like, I don't know, but chintzy, right? And the Panthers could complain equally about Forsling's penalty, where Caulfield just kind of skated into him and fell. Now Ekblad had hooked and held somebody behind the net right before, so like they were going to get something. But a lot of these calls, they let everything go, and then they call the most chintzy crap.
Yeah, it's weird because when that stuff happens, you're like, oh, it averaged out, it's fine. But like at the end of the day, when you see those calls and then it doesn't average out, that's when there's a problem, and there's still a problem even like if it's averaging out, because you're gonna see that when it's not. And that's just, you don't love to see it in terms of just a consistency basis. The last couple of years that I've really been watching, like, and been so into hockey, watching, I've noticed that there's definitely like some sort of consistency issue with how a lot of things are called.
Yeah. The Piano Mat says, just saw the Caulfield goal. I think they let that slide since Hudson was already in the lane, and then does like a shrugging emoji. And yeah, that could be it. I know that the rule with interference is if you're moving in the same direction as the skater you're getting in the way of, usually they'll let it go, even when the puck is not there, which I find kind of crazy, because like you can kind of fake that. You can just slow up and get in their way. But the NHL, they have weird priorities on penalty calls, right? And interference is actually one of the penalties, because I've been digging into the Canadiens' penalty calls for and against this year, and I'm tracking other teams as well. Something I'm doing for Habs Eyes on the Prize in our partnership with them at Game Over. And there's some very curious stuff going on with the Montreal Canadiens and penalties so far this season. The biggest one being that in the first 2 periods, the Canadiens outdraw power plays from their opponents by a slim margin, but it's a margin. And then in the third period, whether they're leading, whether the game's tied, or whether they're trailing, they get about 35% of the calls. Now the calls go down significantly in the third period, but it's like the Canadiens' ability to draw calls goes from about 4 power plays per hour in the first and second period down to like 1.5 in the third. And their opponents go from like 4.5 or so in the first and second to like 3.8 or something like that in the third period. I have all the data, but I'm not looking at it right now. I'm looking at the camera and Jordan. But it's very curious. And I agree, like the averaging out stuff, it's a very unsatisfying way to like shove away any criticism of officiating. And I don't think we need to spend too much time on officiating tonight, but that averaging out thing, it doesn't always. And even if it did, is that really the excuse that we should be making for like doing a job poorly? Like, yeah, I mean, if you just allow somebody who's making food at a restaurant to make a lot of bad food, but then they make some great food, it averages out, but you're still serving people bad food. Like you do have to actually do your job properly. And the NHL doesn't seem to be concerned about that.
Yeah. It's definitely just pretty interesting. Also, to add on to your like third period calls thing, when there's way less calls in general, I think also they always say, oh, in the playoffs, there's way less calls as well.
Yeah.
Just whenever a game is tighter, whenever a game is close and it's almost done, you can just feel, and everyone knows it, that it's just gonna get called differently, which
Yeah.
also takes away consistency from the level of what you're seeing from just what is getting called on the ice.
100%. And you want it to be the same, right? Like there shouldn't be a different level of officiating based on score, based on time of the game. The rules are the rules. They don't change period to period. So I'd like to see a little bit more consistency there. But let's talk about Sam Montembeault in a moment. First, we got to hear from another sponsor of our show, the sponsor of our second period, Le Saint Motel. And we're going to talk about Sam Montembeault's big game tonight. And then we're going to talk about how well Phil Deneau is settling in with these Montreal Canadiens once again, right after this.
While you're browsing Inchu Bijou's goth shop, head next door and discover Montreal's most unique selfie studio. Whether you're looking to take some banger pics of your Halloween costume or cosplay, or you want to make some memories with friends, Le Saint Motel has you covered. Experience their bombastic decors that are always changing, hop in the ball pit, and take advantage of their extensive and flexible on-site lighting. Head to lesaintmotel.com to book your time in the studio, book private time where you and your friends will be the only ones allowed in, or book the space for an event. The dedicated, caring staff will make sure that you have a good time. I do have one warning for you before you book. If you have kids, they won't want to leave. Whether you're at Le Saint Motel or Inchu Bijou, tell them Game Over sent you.
Welcome back to Game Over Montreal. I'm Andrew. He's Jordan. We're here with you to have your post-game Habs vibes, your post-game analysis, commentary, whatever you want to call it. We're here to have fun. We're here to have fun with you. Now, we are going to talk about Montembeault. We're done talking about the refs, but I just wanted to read a couple of your comments because they were good. They were funny. Vaguely Stats says, NHL referees brought to you by DraftKings. Yep. Ted Golding says, give it a rest on officiating. We will, Ted, right after we read your comments. Phantom CSS says, NHL referees brought to you by McDonald's. Food is often bad, but sometimes good, so it averages out. Maybe NHL refereeing is much better when you're drunk. That's why they serve so much beer at the games. Montreal MUFC says, NHL referees should answer only to the local ice hockey federations instead of being employed by the NHL. That's interesting. I don't know how that would work. And Frederick Goulette says, refereeing has been bad for ages. Nothing new here. Yeah, it does seem like it's getting worse as the game gets faster, but I want to reiterate all the time, as I do, that it's not about the refs being bad. It's the way that the NHL manages it being bad. And the refs just need more support. They just need more support. The game is too fast, and you can't put more guys on the ice. They're already two in the way. But Sam Montembeault had a phenomenal game, aside from his Sam Montembeault-isms, which is he let in a bad goal. But great shot from Sam Reinhart to make it 2-0 Florida, but the angle is kind of unforgivable. How'd you feel, Jordan?
Yeah, he was so good today, man. He was just composed.
Yep.
Positionally very sound. Besides the one goal, really making the saves that he needed to. His rebound control was good. And you knew it early on in the game because Florida, did they have a breakaway in the first period? Or
A partial break for sure.
yeah, and Montembeault saved it. I'm like, oh, he's here today. He's ready to play. And he was just good. And one thing that I wrote down was that I am so happy that they put him on the road, because I think it's just he's out of the limelight for a few weeks. He's first game back after going down in Laval, and he gets to play on a road trip against Florida on a back-to-back. That is the perfect situation to put him in. Doesn't have to deal with the Bell Center crowd. You know, if something bad happened, or maybe just they could psych him out if they cheer too much. I don't know, but he doesn't have to deal with that. It doesn't matter. What me making up random stuff about the fan, but he had a good game, and I think they've managed this very well. And this is a good start to Montembeault getting back.
Yeah, 100%. After the first period, what I said was that was like the perfect period for Montembeault to come back with. The Panthers didn't get a huge amount of chances. They didn't get very many like really 10 Bell chances, but there was a lot of chaos in front of Montembeault's net in like short bursts. There was a lot of situations tonight, and in the first period especially, I found where his puck tracking had to be on. And he did. Like, he was on it. The Reinhart goal sucks, but again, it was a snipe. Like, it went through the tiniest little spot, and maybe it was a save selection issue. I know that a lot of folks hate that reverse VH, although every time I talk to like goaltending experts, they're like, it has legit uses. It's just that goalies over rely on it because it's a newer technique. And he kind of got caught there, but can't really blame him for the Marchand goal. He couldn't see anything there.
No way.
Couldn't really fight through it either. Like, that was a lot of traffic. And other than that, like, he was sensational.
Yeah.
Like, every time the Canadiens needed their goalie to calm things down, he did. Like, he was on it with when to freeze the puck. He was on it with, like, jumping out, getting in the way of the Panthers getting into the front of the net, breaking up some plays. And his defenseman, to be fair, did a lot for him tonight. Like, I think defensively, the Canadiens were astonishingly good at even strength tonight. Penalty kill was a little bit more fly-by-wire, but at 5-on-5, they didn't give the Panthers much at all.
Yeah, for the most part, the breakouts were pretty good today. I think it's a little bit wishy-washy with this team on what you're going to get from a breakout perspective. But I thought today it looked good. Just the support along. They like playing it up the wall a lot. I know you've talked a lot about that. But I think today the support was just there more effectively along the boards. And they were also doing a good job at picking the puck off the boards. I don't know if that sounds so simple. But I thought especially Jack-Eye today picked up the puck, and whenever it got rung on the wall, Jack-Eye would pick it up really nicely today. And that if you're not having a rolling puck when you're trying to make your first breakout pass, guess what? It helps a lot. And
Big time.
Also, Frederick Ouellette says the positive thing is that the goal didn't hurt his confidence, Monty, and he made a few big saves after that. And exactly, that's you put the words in our mouth, right? That's what you need to see from Montembeault, because those goals are probably always going to be there. Unfortunately, it's just something we've seen for multiple years. But if he can be the same goalie after he lets one of those goals in, you're good. You're set, because guess what? He's actually a good goalie. He's a good NHL goaltender.
That's like the big thing about Montembeault. Like, I feel bad for him in a lot of ways because he was so solid throughout this rebuild. And I think it's been incredibly important for the Canadiens group of young defensemen who are developing to have that solid goaltender behind where they can afford to make mistakes and he'll bail them out more often than not. And yet throughout the rebuild, I found like Habs fans kind of hated the guy because he kept on stealing games and hurting their draft position.
Yeah.
And like, especially the Reinbacher draft year, people were insanely angry at Sam Montembeault for like sneaking points out. But like, you do have to actually enjoy things once in a while. And then he earns the starting position. His first chance in the playoffs, he gets injured right away. And then the next season, he's like assumed to be the starter. And I think off the top of the season, he wasn't bad, but everything was going against him. And you could see it just erode his confidence, and he bottled it and got sent down to the AHL on a conditioning stint, not a real sent down. And now he's back and he looks good. Like, it's a feel good story. And I know people don't have an attachment to Montembeault the way they do to like the young star players, which is completely understandable. But I think when the story is written of these Montreal Canadiens, you know, like becoming a competitive force in this league and hopefully winning a couple cups, Sam Montembeault is not going to be the goaltender of record, but he's part of the story. Yeah. And I think he's an integral part of the story that is worth respecting.
Yeah, he's huge. I mean, any team would be, or a lot of teams would be happy to have him. I would say an average starting goaltender is what Montembeault can be if he has his confidence. He'll probably be playing at above average level, but he'll let in that occasional stinker, which will put him down. But an average goaltender, if you have a good team in front of him, that's going to get you places. That's not going to hurt you. And if you have a good team, if your goaltender doesn't hurt you, you can go somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. He's the safe guy, right? And unfortunately, that hasn't been the case so far this year, but he's starting to get it back. And that's just good news all around. All right, so Phil Deneau, I feel like we got to talk about this guy.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the analytics tonight, it's not going to look pretty, but most of that was in the third period where he was just holding the fort. especially after the Canadiens started scoring. And it was like they had their top lines out there to try to score. And then the Danault line went out there to just hold the fort. If you can, hold it in the offensive zone, forecheck them into oblivion. And they did that very well in this game, but they weren't necessarily there to generate pucks on net, let's say. Sorry. And that's going to hurt their like underlying numbers. But I thought they were really damn good tonight. And I thought Danault in particular, he brings a level of calmness that I'm not going to say Jake Evans doesn't bring, because he brings it as well. But Danault's a little bit more polished on the defensive side. And like Evans is a phenomenal penalty killer, but he's not as good as a 200-foot player as Phil Danault. And also the face-off ability. He's so key on the PK. Like, this addition from Hughes is going to pay such big dividends as the season progresses. Like, I love it more and more every game. As he settles in, I see Trinka saying Danault is dad, Evans is uncle. Hell yeah. And all I want this year, like, I'm not expecting the Canadiens to win the Stanley Cup or anything, but I want to finish around and have Phil Danault out there having pizza. I need it one more time, you know? And I don't know if he'll be here for the duration of his contract, but it's another one that it makes me feel warm fuzzies to have Phil Danault back with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I'm so glad we're talking about him today. I just thought he's so steady.
Yes.
You kind of said it, but I thought a lot of times watching him, it looks like he's about to get in trouble. There's a puck battle. He's 1-on-2. It looks like, I'm like, oh, he's screwed. He gets out of it. That happened at least 3 times tonight.
Yep.
Just his savviness, knowing how to just perfectly position himself so that he can make the play that's just good enough to get us out of that spot. And that's what I noticed multiple times, especially today, but even against Tampa, for Danault. And it was great to see. And then, yeah, again, having him really be our left-handed center. Someone in chat said he's a better version of Dvorak. I mean, yeah, Rabinov.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty fair. And I saw at one point they put on the RDS, they put the face-off for him. He was 19 for 28 early in the third period on face-offs, since including the Tampa game. And
That's not bad.
So he's 19 for 28 is pretty ridiculous, actually.
Pretty damn strong.
And he's going out there for the most important face-offs, at least like a good amount of the time, which is presumably going to be against some of the better centermen as well. So he's just awesome. We have someone to put on left side faceoffs in the D zone. How huge is that? We have someone to put on overtime for faceoffs. Like, he won the faceoff in overtime last night or 2 days ago. It's so great to see him back, and I hope they put him back with Gallagher. I think a Texier Danault Gallagher line, once people are healthy, would be so sweet. And
I like that.
Yeah.
You got Texier there for the speed, Gallagher there for like the forechecking and along the boards and a bit of defensive work, and Danault just in the middle. If Danault could score goals, he would be making a lot more money than he is. Like, he would be so good. Like, I remember last time when he was with the Habs, and like part of it is that line just cooked under Claude Julien and under Dominique Ducharme. I saw someone said, Piano Matt says, there's no 2021 Cup final without Danault, and 100%. And that whole time people were like, why can't this guy score? But he just shut down everyone. Like, even in that year where he scored very, very few goals, there was a storyline all season long. He was still one of the top 15 players in like 5-on-5 assists per hour. Like, he does bring offense. He just doesn't score very much. So if he can have somebody like Texier there to like bury some shots, no offense to Josh Anderson, I liked a lot of what he brought tonight, but there was also a few points where he did his Josh Anderson stuff. At 5-on-5, he's not like an offense generator outside of on the rush. He doesn't really cycle very well, which Danault does very, very well. And I think Texier tonight was really great on the cycle on that top line.
Yeah, he's I've continued to be impressed. How was this guy on waivers? I mean,
Well, he was a free agent, wasn't he? Because
oh yeah. Well,
he chose to terminate his contract,
you're
but he could
yeah.
have signed with anyone.
Well, I think they would have sent him down, but he said like,
Yeah,
"Can you just terminate me?" But
yeah,
how was this guy free? I mean, what an what stroke of luck for this team that he was just there. And I think a big part of it too is that just this team, the culture around this team, the team, like it's a French city. I know in an interview he said like his mom's with him and his mom doesn't speak English too well, so it's like, oh, it's been really helpful for his mom. And he said like, oh, when I feel good I play good. And he's in a great city, and I love Alex Texier. I hope he can stay with this team past this season if he keeps playing like this, certainly. And yeah, uh, I a month ago, if you told me that it down the stretch there's a good chance you're gonna have a plus bottom six, I would have left.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty wild, like what the Canadians have accomplished in such a short period of time. And I saw somebody mentioning he wasn't playing and he wasn't happy in St. Louis, but now he's happy under St. Louis. Sometimes all it takes is changing a period to a dash, and you're good. Terrible joke. I apologize. But yeah,
Nice.
Danault settling in nicely. Texier has settled in great. Montembeault back with a big game. Now we got to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about the Olympics, specifically some Habs Olympic hopefuls that had big games tonight. So we're going to start with Suzuki, of course, but we'll kind of run through and talk about the different players who could represent their countries in the upcoming Olympics here in February in a moment as we switch to the third period. But before we get too deep into that, we got to tell you that if you really like Game Over Network and Game Over Montreal, first of all, smash like on this stream and make sure you subscribe, because not everybody who watches is subscribed, and we are so close to 1,000 followers, folks. It would be really special if we could get that before the turn to the new year. It doesn't really matter, but like it would be cool. So tell all your friends to come subscribe to Game Over Montreal, where we vibe it out after Habs games. We don't rage usually, but if there's need to, we'll let the rage flow. We're more about like starting out with the emotions, and then we dig into the data, we do the analysis, and then at the end of the game, we've got a catharsis, and we can all go to bed happy. That's what Game Over Montreal is all about. And we love our community here, including Claire, who says, "Do you believe the leak about Suzuki having been chosen?" Yes, I do. I think there's been a lot of talk over the last several weeks about how he's on the bubble. And I got to tell you, folks, I think that has been BS the entire time. I think Suzuki's been a lock since like last year when he took off after the Four Nations face-off and they realized he probably deserved to be on that team. Like, who are they going to take over Nick Suzuki? Here's my prediction. I think Nick Suzuki plays a smaller version of the Bergeron role and plays with Sidney Crosby. I think that's what they're going to do at this. They're going to insulate Crosby a little bit because he's getting older. Not that he needs it. And him with Suzuki creates a line that's just, how do you handle that? It's too much. It's too much intelligence on one line.
True. It would be interesting to see who to put them with, but even if you don't want to play Suzuki in a super high role on the team, he just fits. He literally fits anywhere on that team. Why would you not want a moldable ball of clay for your team Canada, who has been one of the hottest players in the NHL since after you snubbed him at Four Nations? It's incredible. Then 2 goals tonight. Just calling game there right at the end. He looked really good. I remember one specific play in the first period, and I don't know. I even wrote it down because I thought it was just so impressive. It's in the offensive zone, close to the corner along the wall, and he's got a Ekblad, I think, all over him, and he just pokes it and spins off him perfectly, and just regains the puck. And that reminded me of what you talked to me about I think some point a few weeks ago, when you said, "Oh, he just knows, like whenever he's winning the puck battles, he just knows exactly what to do, and how to contort himself to perfectly win the puck." And how are you not going to want that at Four Nations when this guy's also over a point per game?
Yeah, right.
Or at
I think
Olympics?
I think before the game went to overtime, I think they said Suzuki was at like 95 points for the calendar year or 90 points or something like that. Like, that's crazy to be, not only to accomplish that, but like right now we're seeing with Slavkovsky taking the next step, Demidov taking a huge step this year, multiple huge steps. Like defensively, there was points in this game where he was like running through guys. I love the lack of respect he plays with, where he'll just like run Reinhardt out of nowhere. And you're like, dude, that guy's a superstar and you're a rookie. He doesn't care. I love it. It's a very PK Subban energy. Vaguely Stats says 97 points in the last calendar year. What? Behind only McJesus and McKinnon. Like, there's no way that they can't choose this guy. Because as you mentioned, Jordan, who in the league is more versatile than Nick Suzuki? He's the first choice for the Canadiens in every single situation.
Yeah.
Maybe not the shootout anymore.
Yeah,
But
he's a great penalty killer too. Whenever you see him on the PK, I am so impressed. And it's
just smart.
It's a shame that they can't put him on that. Just too much overload. But it's gonna be nice to see him in a Canada jersey. And if he doesn't go, I will have a very nice crash out.
Yeah. I mean, I won't mind too much just because, like, at the end of the day, he'll get a rest, and that's fine. The Canadiens can go maybe deeper in the playoffs this year. But I think this is an important point for Nick Suzuki because not only has he earned it, I think getting the chance to play with the top players in the league will help him ascend even further. Because what impresses me about Nick Suzuki, like, yes, there's the intelligence in his game, and it's incredible to watch. Like, there was a shift against Tampa where twice he was beaten on body position to a loose puck, and he just reached in, poked the puck off the boards around the player who was trying to check ahead of him, and then beat him after the puck bounced off the boards and like passed it to himself.
Yeah.
And there was one where he like did it while spinning around, and like we were talking about the forechecking and like being able to contort himself, not only to get the puck, but to be free to skate away afterwards, like be free of the check. Like he bleeds smarts. But I think that because he is so determined to constantly get better, he's always adding things to his game, just practicing with Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid for the 2 weeks or whatever that the Olympics are, we'll get a different Nick Suzuki at the end of it. And it might not be that different, but he always finds ways to improve. And I'm excited to see that. And I would be very shocked if he doesn't make it. And I would join you in the crash out. And I see Chain to the Dream says, insane that Celebrini has 96 points. I know that he'd been having a great year this year. I didn't know he had that many points.
Good for him, man.
In 2025.
Good for him. Holy.
Wow.
19
on the
years
thin
old.
Sharks too.
19 years old.
You know what? Him and Suzuki have something else in common. Breaking in with the veteran leadership of one Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, hey, Toffoli's, if there's anybody in the league who's like that, like middle six guy who exemplifies like playing with intelligence, it's probably Tyler Toffoli. And, you know, we were talking about Danault being so crafty. I wonder how much Danault's craftiness impacted Suzuki as a young NHLer as well. Like, they've both got that ability to keep things going.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And Montreal MUFC says Nick's own personal growth would go off the charts if he can play with the best, and shows that he belongs in that elite category for sure. And I think another thing like he can pick up too is maybe there's like little things in his habits that he's never thought of that he can see from some of these guys, right? And when you're at that high a level, even just getting like this little bit extra is just so huge. And we'd be so excited to see it for Suzuki.
Yeah, 100%. Vaguely Stats says Celebrini's the real deal, makes Bedard look pedestrian. Poor Bedard. I feel like he's had a great season too. It's just he's hurt,
so good,
right? Yeah. And Bernardo Saunier requests that we can talk about Hudson's absurd pass to Suzuki for the OT winner.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Let's talk about that. Lane Hudson is a cheat code. And as much as Nick Suzuki deserves to be on Team Canada, I find Team USA, the rumors coming out of Team USA right now are wild. Like, if Suzuki is left behind for Team Canada, like the drop in talent for the guy that they're taking ahead of him might be like to, I don't know, Cirelli. Cirelli's a good player, he can do a lot of the things that Nick Suzuki does. He doesn't bring the offense, but he's good. The drop from the fact that the Americans are thinking about leaving off Jason Robertson.
Dude.
What? I saw people talking about that today, and I was like, how? How could you do this and consider yourself like a legitimate hockey person?
If he doesn't go,
God.
I will excuse me, like that's just ridiculous. If Chris Kreider or something goes for him again, there's no way Kreider goes again, right? But if he goes ahead of, is he first in scoring right now or second?
Among Americans?
He's first among Americans, isn't he?
He's got to be.
He should be.
Especially over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's insane. And he's having an incredible season, Robertson. And I also think like people are very quick to dismiss Hudson on that roster. But I think if you play him in a more of a sheltered offensive role, he could be a very good piece in a tournament like that because he is just so creative in the he's so crazy in the offense. He's like a dragonfly. Anytime he touches the puck at the point, and it just he just makes stuff happen. Again, it doesn't matter who it is. I would love to see a Lane Hudson at a best on best tournament, and I think it's a shame that he's just not getting considered. When 78 points in 2025 says chain to the dream. Yeah, I mean, I know that there's so much talent on Team USA for sure, but I don't know how you can just like completely dismiss him that quickly.
You can't, right? And from what I've heard, the choice on defense that Team USA is like agonizing over is whether to take Adam Fox or Noah Hannafin. And I'm like, listen, Noah Hannafin is fine. What does he have on the brass to be considered anywhere close to Adam Fox or Lane Hudson? Like Hudson is this year second among American defensemen in scoring. He's 11th among all Americans. Jason Robertson is second in scoring among all Americans. The leader is actually Matt Boldy.
Good for him. He's a beast.
Yeah. I haven't actually heard if he's like a lock for Team USA, but they don't seem to like small players. So
no way he isn't.
Like, yeah, but Cole Caulfield 7th, and he's not expected to make it. The Tkachuk brothers are both expected to make it. Even is Matthew Tkachuk even able to play?
Yeah, he hasn't played yet.
No,
oh, that's weird. That would
like
he was.
It's not like they're lacking for talent.
No,
right?
No. But Robertson not going is pretty ridiculous.
Very ridiculous. And if they were to not take Adam Fox, again, completely ridiculous. And I think we're at the point now, or at least getting close to it, where not taking Lane Hudson is very difficult to defend. Because, like, yeah, you could shelter him, which makes him even more crazy, but he's already shown he doesn't need that. Like, he was the number one defenseman for the Canadiens in the playoffs last year. He was matching up against top lines. And he was excellent. He's been great this year. He's been great last year. Like he's unflappable. Like he rises to every occasion that he's given, similar to Suzuki. And heck, man, if you need a goal at the end of a game, who else are you going to choose other than Cole Caulfield? Like he has that clutch gene as well. Like it just seems like a bunch of bad ideas.
Yeah, it's I don't know how you can defend like those takes, and yeah, we might be biased, but it's also true. So if you think about that, a couple other guys that should make the Olympics too. I heard Kapanen's supposed to be a lock for Finland, if I'm not, or maybe not a lock, but I've been seeing that he should be going, which is, I mean, great for him. I would love to see him like just go there and learn more as a rookie, making that Finnish team. That's pretty good for him.
Yep. Slavkovsky is about as much of a lock as you could possibly imagine for Slovakia. I kind of, it's funny because like Russia not being allowed to compete is totally legitimate based on their actions as a country and also the doping scandals. Kind of sucks for Demidov though. I feel like he would make it.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. They have so many. I've seen like a lot of hypothetical Team Russias, and they have like one center. It's like Malkin and 20 skilled wingers. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, it's definitely Slav. Like we saw a few even a comment on our stream Sunday. Oh, Slav's gonna tear it up at the Olympics. Oh yeah, he is. Oh yeah, he's gonna love it. I think Slav's gonna love the Olympics.
It's gonna be great. And I hope that he wasn't too rattled tonight by taking that penalty. It didn't seem like it. It seemed like he was pissed and then got right back on his horse. He's getting to that point now where I don't think we're going to see Marty needing to like bench him anymore. And it probably was never needed, but there were times where he kind of got like sat and you could tell they were like having a conversation. And I don't think the relationship was ever strained. I think they were very good communicators, the two of them. But at this point now, when Slav makes a mistake, I don't even think they worry about him.
Yeah, I think that's like if you've proven it enough that you can make up for it and that you're going to do the right thing most of the time, I think Marty's willing to change his mind about like, you know, putting you on more or less often, right? And I think that that's been a good good thing about this coaching staff is that they're willing to let you make mistakes sometimes, and it allows players to it gives them the opportunity to bounce back. If you want it, you can come. We're letting like Marty and we'll let you redeem yourself.
100%. So I think we're probably all in agreement that Suzuki and Slav are locks. Kapanen will probably make it. Hudson and Caulfield seem to be on the outside looking in, but they should probably make it. I feel like, yeah, we're biased, but we're also right. As Jordan said, I love that line. We're biased, but we're right. That's fantastic. Pargiev says Texier makes the French Olympic team. Is Team France playing? That's awesome. That's awesome. We never get to see some of the like smaller hockey countries get represented, but the Olympics, usually there's a couple that are surprising. And let's shift over to the overtime period now, because I see some questions in the chat. So if you have questions, off topic, whatever, hockey, non-hockey, throw them in there. I'm going to switch here. All right, we are in the overtime period. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you subscribe to Game Over Montreal. I am Andrew. He is Jordan. And I see a comment here from our friend Rabinov. And Rabinov says, is Hachey basically a regular now? He might be the most improved player on this team. The last few weeks, he has really played well. And I've noticed some people talking about how he feels like his bite is gone and he's not like doing the intimidation thing. I'd written down a point to make early on in the game because I was several good plays from Hachey. And I guess my question for folks is, should the priority be intimidation or making him a good player? And I get that he's not as spicy sometimes when he's playing well, but I think that's a good thing. Sometimes a quiet Hachey game, he does what you need him to do on the intimidation without actually having to do much. And he's there in case things get out of control. But I don't think that Hachey needs to be out there necessarily trying to intimidate all the time. I think he's at the point in his career where the intimidation is just there by virtue of him being on the ice, and he can focus on being a good hockey player.
Yeah, and I think that's when he does like plays best, when he's not trying to get into other antics on the ice, just focus on himself. Because when Hachey's on, he's a decently composed defenseman that can move the puck, I would say fairly well, is very good physically and has a really nice slap shot from the blue line. And also, I want to add, because I saw this today, is that his pinching when he, the puck's like when we're in the offensive zone, the puck's coming up the wall, he is actually quite effective at just pinching along the wall and making the right play to keep the puck in the zone. I don't know if it's his big frame or what, but he just does a really, I would say a more than adequate job at that. And if he can play like that, that's huge.
Yeah, Bernardo Saunier and Montreal MUC bring up that he literally killed Scott Sabourin last game. As like, because I remember earlier in that game, I saw like Habs fans on socials saying like, oh, he's not playing, like he's playing soft, and then he just murders a guy. And I really liked his respect when the guy got knocked out, and he was like immediately come in, like get the trainers over here, take care of this guy, because there's far too many guys in the NHL who just don't stop and will like keep hitting once a guy's down on the ice and stuff. And I really don't like that. Like once somebody's down, you gotta just stop.
I agree. I didn't even like his choice to take that fight in the first place, actually.
Neither
The
did
other game.
I.
But he absolutely whooped him, so it's okay. That's kind of my philosophy for that. But like, if he
Situationally right
lost that
call.
fight, yeah, if he lost that fight, that would have been bad. Frederick Ouellette says, "Is Struble now the 7th D? If I was
Yep.
on the bench, he would be the 7th D."
Yeah. I like that the coaching staff is still trying to get Struble in there to like work himself out of the funk that he's in. But it's been a relatively consistent thing with him where he'll get called up or he'll make the team and he'll have like 5-6 really good games where he looks really solid and he's moving the puck well. He's chipping in the offensive zone. He's like stopping guys on the boards in the defensive zone. And then he gets like a really long stretch where he really struggles. And I checked earlier tonight, and in December, he's like by far the worst Canadiens player in terms of like expected goal differential. He's in the 30th, like the 30s. I think he's like 38% in December. And heading into December, he was already the worst in that metric, along with a bunch of other metrics. So he's struggled. The focus has been more on Xhekaj struggling this year because like lack of points, but I don't care about points for Xhekaj. I do wonder if he's gonna get that much more runway here because Engstrom is pushing and like eventually Reinbacher is gonna come up. And once you have another guy who plays the right side naturally, Struble's ability to play both sides is no longer going to be as important.
Yeah, I do think that Struvel's just kind of unfortunately mostly played his way out of the lineup. Just with how good Engstrom has looked. I think Engstrom also brings like a more of a a mobility and puck movement than Struble can. And when Struble's off, his puck movement is really bad, which is not great. And even when he's off, he's still pretty good physically. But when he's going to be on the bottom pair with Xhekaj, you don't need a player who's going to be more physical as his main part when he's off. Engstrom, I find that like if he is off his game, he's still able to have a few really clean breakouts because he uses his legs, because he like especially like he uses his legs, and he can maybe not make the obvious pass right away up the wall instead, and like reposition himself to make a more clean breakout. And I think that is more effective for winning hockey.
Yeah, 100%. Bernardo Sonia asks, should Dobson have been considered for Team Canada? And also, if Matheson somehow made it, I would laugh so hard. You know, I feel like Dobson should have made it, but this is kind of the way that things work with like Team Canada, Team USA. Because Dobson is not on the top power play unit, his point production is not going to be super high this year, right? And because he's seen as a more offensive defenseman, there's going to be people who don't watch games on the Team Canada thing. They're going to watch clips, yes, but they're not watching full games of players. And they're going to think he's having an off year offensively, when really he's been damn good offensively with far fewer opportunities than a player of his caliber usually receives. So there's going to be players that make Team Canada who are not as good as Noah Dobson, and probably maybe not as good as Mike Matheson. Ironically, Matheson, I don't think is at the talent level necessary to make Team Canada, but if they were to take him, I think they'd be totally fine.
Yeah.
Because his skill set fits into that, like playing with elite players really, really well.
Well, have you seen Matheson against McDavid? That's my question. Because his skating ability, and when he wants to shut you down, he can do it. And I think Matheson's had an incredible year. It's like, is he on? Someone said, is he on the list of potentials? Like, no, but he could be. Like, I wouldn't be like, you wouldn't get torn.
Oh, hold on one sec, Jordan. You're frozen. We made it almost the whole time, but now it's gonna mess with us. I'll fix it in a second here, and then you'll be able to hear Jordan again. And until then, I am just, scatting away. There we go. He's back.
Yeah.
So Matheson, he can skate with anyone, basically. Continue on.
Yeah, I mean, he's had incredible games against McDavid. When he wants to turn it on, he can, and you won't get torched if he's in the lineup. But yeah, realistically, he's probably not going to go. Chris Hansen says, for all the fans complaining about Dobson, he's been excellent when healthy. I would pair him with Gouli. I think that could be a very interesting pair, actually. If they can somehow figure that out, but they have to find someone to play with Hudson, and Gouli kind of has to play with Hudson. But maybe with what we've seen from Matheson this year, like, would you even say, like, what would you think about even trying him out with Hudson once Gouli's back?
Oh, I haven't loved Matheson and Hudson together other times they've tried, but I think the Canadiens are in a situation where when Gouli is back, especially if Reinbacher continues to elevate towards like playoff time, they can kind of spread the talent over 3 pairings and really mix and match and almost create pairs dependent on the opponents that they're facing. Like they have a lot of defensive depth, and that's really exciting from a coaching perspective, because I find Marty's very good at creating lines that work together. He figures out player styles that will mesh and like kind of puts them together. Even when there's lots of injuries, he finds ways to put them together. Defense is a bit of a problem, and they're a little bit slower on the uptake there. But I like that they actually experiment once in a while. Like I didn't expect going in that they would put Dobson and Matheson together.
Yeah.
And that's worked out very, very well.
Yeah, it has. And you saying that having a versatile decor like that would be so interesting. That would be so incredible. Like, what if you're in a playoff series and you go to the next one, and this team they do their whole scouting that your pair is Hudson and Gouli, and then oh no, it's Hudson Reinbacher. Oh no,
Yep.
it's Gouli Dobson, right? That would be something that I don't know if have we seen that? Like that you can just switch. I mean, that would be insane. I don't know if like Marty's that crazy in a good way. But that would be so awesome if in the future you can tailor it to your opponents. I mean, that would just be some like ridiculous level of game management. And Hudson Dobson says Bernardo Sunier. I mean, it looks good when they need a goal. It looks really good when they need a goal.
It really does. And frankly, as much as there was so much talk coming into this season that Dobson wasn't good defensively, I don't agree. I really don't. I think he's quite strong defensively. And while like Lane Hudson has specific weaknesses defensively, like clearing the net front, because he's just not as big as the forwards he's fighting against, his defensive impact is very strong. Like he just wins the puck before that situation happens. Canada's taking Bennington apparently. Yeah, well, goaltending is an issue. That's the biggest issue
on St. Louis right now.
But he had that one good game at Four Nations. I don't get the love for that guy. I feel like on top of the fact that he's not a consistent good goaltender, like on a personal level, he's not a good teammate. Like he's just not a good person. And I feel like in a short tournament where personalities can really, clash and throw people off, I would not want to bring a guy like that. I wouldn't want to bring a loose cannon who's going to like try to fight the other goalie or like another player because they get dunked on and scored on in a bad way. Like you need somebody a little bit more calm for Canada, because Canada's also an emotional team that often crosses the line physically in these international tournaments where things are called a little bit more tightly. That's why I don't want them to bring Tom Wilson either. Like don't set yourself up for failure. We've watched how many times where Team Canada's gone into tournaments, whether it's Olympics or World Juniors, where like Steve Downey is there and he brains somebody and gets a 5-minute major and they end up losing the game. Like you don't need that guy.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Nathan McKinnon can also crush a dude.
So can Suzuki. See it once in a while. But
so can Crosby.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I've kind of accepted at this point that one of those type of guys is going, but they cannot bring both Bennett and Wilson. Just one of them. Like one of them I've accepted, but if they bring both, I will be very disappointed.
Yeah, the crash outs will be severe. Maybe we'll have to be back on tomorrow just to talk about it. But I think that's all for us tonight. We've gone a long period of time, and I want to go hang out with my wife before I go to bed. So Habs win, last one of the year, a great win, a great last couple games of the year for the Montreal Canadiens, really building momentum to go into the next one. And frankly, Nick Suzuki putting a exclamation point on his campaign to make Team Canada. He does it, right? We all agree?
We do.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back on Thursday. I think it'll be K, but we'll see, as the Canadiens take on the Carolina Hurricanes. And then they got a back-to-back of afternoon games on the weekend. This Olympic schedule, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But we'll be there with you.
Yeah,
See
thank you
later.
guys for tuning in. Thanks so much to everyone who commented, everyone who liked, everyone who subscribed. You mean a lot to us. And thank you guys so much for giving me a huge warm welcome here on Game Over.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I saw some comments on the YouTube last time as well, like after the show ended, that everyone was like, yeah, Jordan, let's do this. So I love the positivity, folks. And I love that you're liking Jordan right away as he gets introduced. And it's going to be crazy what we're going to be able to do in the new year. So stick around. We'll see you then.